Well, it wasn't really a choice. It's something that kind of happened because I was really interested in journalism from a very young age. And when I was in my first year of university, I realised that I was doing a BA in English and French. There was no journalism degree back then. And I wanted to be a journalist, and I thought, well, I need to do something. So I was very lucky because my father was a computer programmer, and he had access to the internet before the internet had pictures. And I was able to do a search, and I found out about freelance journalism. I thought, I can do that. So I was a little bit cocky because I was very young, and I sent out a few pictures to people, and I was very lucky because they picked it up, and it kind of snowballed from there. I've been doing it ever since. Really love it. So I used a combination of the internet and physical magazines because I was really interested in writing for magazines. So I had a lot of copies of different magazines lying around the house. I looked for contact details, and I sent out a whole lot of ideas. I did everything wrong, everything they tell you not to do, I did, but somehow it worked. And I got a phone call from a magazine called Personality Magazine, which was a weekly family magazine. That doesn't exist anymore, it's gone out of business, but it used to exist a long time ago. And they said, well, could you write these stories? And I thought, yeah, sure I can. Didn't know what I was doing, no idea, no clue. But thought, I can do this, I'm good at writing, let's go for it. And I was very lucky because I had a really good editor. And so I learned from him a lot about what it means to be a journalist, how to structure a story, what kind of language to use. And from there, I just kind of set goals for myself. I'm the kind of person I get bored really easily, number one. So freelance journalism works really well for me because I'm not stuck doing the same thing all the time. And I'm also the kind of person that doesn't give up. If you tell me no, I'll go, okay, I'll find another way to do it. And that's something that you need if you're going to be a freelance journalist. So I think for me, it was really the right ideas that I sent at the right time to a publication that happened to be looking for things that I could offer them.
Okay.
I didn't have a degree when I started freelancing. I was in my first year of university. I was 16. I went to university very young. And I didn't have the opportunity to study at a university where journalism was offered. There were a few journalism degrees, but not a lot at that stage. So I was doing what's called a liberal arts degree. A Bachelor of Arts, and I could choose my subjects. In the end, I majored in English literature and French, so languages, kind of that kind of thing. And I realised that wasn't going to. I enjoyed what I was doing, I loved it, but it wasn't necessarily going to, put me in a career path that I wanted to be in. And as I said, I'm the kind of person that if I want something, I'm going to go out and get it. So I just did, and I think what I did get from the academics that I did was really an understanding of critical thinking, how to think, how to use language, how to understand context, all of which are valuable skills for journalists. So although I didn't study journalism, the skills I picked up through my degree were very valuable. But I was kind of doing the freelancing thing at the same time as studying. And I only did a journalism qualification at master's level. I did a postgraduate master's degree in science and technology journalism, where I got to specialise in a particular thing. There are a lot of risks. The main risk is that you don't know if you're going to get paid. You don't know when you're going to get paid. So it's not a regular paycheck. It's also a positive because in a way you write your own paycheck. You decide what assignments you're going to take on, how much. You negotiate how much you're going to get paid. You do all of the things to be able to structure it as a business because that's what it is really. So it's both risks and opportunities. If you do it well, it can be very lucrative. You can earn a lot of money. But there are also pitfalls that you can fall into. So, for example, you might give away the rights to all of your work. And that means that other people benefit from the work that you've done and you don't get paid for it. And when we were starting out, digital was still very new. So one of the things that those early contracts had in them was a clause that said, if you sell us the print rights to this, we take digital rights. And since as journalists we didn't know what that meant, we kind of just went, okay, it's a paycheck. And so you lost a lot of the rights to your work as a result of that. And then the other thing is, some months you're going to earn a lot. You're going to be rolling in the money, and other months you're going to earn nothing. So it's about discipline. It's about making sure that you know how much you need to do and that you keep yourself doing it. That's the other thing, is there's nobody there, there's no boss saying, do this work. There's no colleagues going, have you done that yet? It's just you on your own doing the assignment. And if you don't do it, you don't get paid. So, you know, there's a lot of flexibility in it, which I love. But there's also some risk. It's good when you're starting out. I did it full-time for 2 years. That was before I had a family. Once you have a family, much more difficult not to know what that paycheck's going to be, not to have any benefits, not to have any kind of, you know, safety net for yourself. I would say if you're doing it full-time, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even when you don't have an assignment, you have to treat it like a job, because your job at that point is to get the next assignment. So you're always working towards that. I still freelance. I do a lot of freelancing at the moment. I've just submitted 6 articles to the same publication. Part of what you do, part of the day in the life, is coming up with ideas, sending out pitches to editors. So you would be sending out emails, or you'd get on the phone and say, I've got this really good story idea, would you be interested in it? Part of it might be interviewing sources, it might be writing it up, it might be submitting it or editing it, it might be sourcing pictures. Part of what I do as a freelance journalist is I run a podcast. So I run that for a particular publication. I do most of the interviewing, all of the editing and the final production on it, and the distribution. So I upload it to the net and so on. So when it comes to it, really depends on what you're doing at that particular time. Most of what I do is online and print, but I do some broadcast, and that will be slightly different to what you would do as a print journalist.
Yeah. So you would say that there's no standard routine that.
Not really.
Yeah.
If you have regular clients that you're working for. So for me, I have 2 main publications that I write for. I write between 6 and 10 articles a month for the one, and I write between maybe 1 and 4 for the other. But I'm also working full-time here. So if you were doing it full-time, you'd have a lot more time to do more, and I could do more for that. I would say that if you were doing it full-time, probably your day would start with a rundown of what assignments were due, make sure that you know what information you have already, what research you've done, whether you've done all of the interviews. It might involve some writing up, and then a lot of it will be on email, either sending out pitch ideas or sending out requests for sources to talk to you, because that's the biggest thing, is just chasing down somebody who wants to talk to you about the subject, and then doing research for story ideas. So I read a lot of, for me it's technology, because that's mainly what I write about. I read a lot of tech publications. So. No, I love being a freelance journalist.
Okay.
I wouldn't change that, mainly because, as I said, I get bored really easily. So it gives me the opportunity to challenge myself in different ways. So I've written for publications where I thought, like this, but I didn't have to continue doing it because I was a freelance, so I had the opportunity to move on. I wrote about insurance for a while, and I can tell you nobody gets really excited about insurance except maybe people who work in it, but I certainly don't, and covering it wasn't exciting. But then I've also done things like I've written horoscopes, which is a lot of fun. It's all complete nonsense, but it's a lot of fun, and I've done a lot of tech things that I really love. And every time I break into a new market, it's really exciting for me. So I think that excitement is what I love about it. I think that what the benefit is that you learn the skill of being able to adapt your writing to whatever publication it is that you're writing for. So what's exciting about that is if you are working at, Women's Weekly, you know Women's Weekly, and you can do Women's Weekly in your sleep because you've learned the formula, you know the audience, you know what they're looking for. When you're a freelancer, you're consistently looking for new ways to write things because you're having to write for different publications. And I think that's a very useful skill to have because it makes you very flexible, adaptable, versatile, and it does allow you to be more creative with things.